The moment underscored Kendrick Lamar's remarkable journey and his profound influence on West Coast hip-hop. Picture a sunny day in Los Angeles. As you cruise down Sunset Boulevard, every radio station you find is playing a Kendrick Lamar song. Not just a few random tracks, but he's dominating the airwaves, being featured in 9 out of 10 plays. This isn't mere chance. It's clear proof that over the past year, Kendrick from Compton has captured the musical spirit of the city like no other LA artist since Tupac or Snoop Dogg. Welcome to Celebrity Cookies, where the tea is always hot and the stories come with sprinkles of surprise. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment with your take on the story. This was the scene Fat Joe described on the first episode of his new podcast, Joe and Jada, which he co-hosts with Jadakiss to discuss music, sports, and culture openly. Reconnecting their East Coast friendship, the two hip-hop icons began by reflecting on what they call the discrepancy between Kendrick and Drake, the rap rivalry that made headlines a year ago, before shifting their focus to celebrate Kendrick's accomplishments. Jadakiss initiated the conversation. It's been a year since that Kendrick and Drake feud began, but it feels like it was just 4 or 5 months ago. The media had a field day labeling it as beef, but honestly, I can't believe a whole year has gone by. Fat Joe laughed and added, I was just in LA last week, and I've never seen anything like this. Sure, LA artists get love from their hometown, but no one has dominated like Kendrick has this past year, not even Snoop or Pac. Jadakiss responded with a smile. Every rapper gets airplay in their own city. That's just loyalty to the home team. Joe interjected. I'm talking about an overwhelming presence. Whether you're working at Target, delivering for Amazon, or clocking in at Taco Bell, there's one name that stands out in hip-hop right now, and that's Kendrick Lamar. Every single song he puts out gets played 9 out of 10 times on LA radio. I'm being completely honest. This candid approach set the stage for a 90-minute discussion on how Kendrick turned his last album cycle into a cultural phenomenon, and why no West Coast artist since the early 90s has had such influence. It wasn't just a history lesson. Joe and Jada filled the episode with real-time reactions, sharing anecdotes about celebrity encounters in the studio, and discussing everything from Kendrick's Super Bowl performance to his surprising collaborations. At its core, the conversation acknowledged that the hip-hop landscape has fundamentally shifted. Well before the podcast was released, it was clear from the numbers that Kendrick was having an exceptional year. His album launched at number 1, stayed in the top 5 of the Billboard 200 for several weeks, and achieved platinum status faster than any other West Coast album. Tracks from the album spent months in the top 10 of the Hot 100, and streaming services reported that more than half of the most played hip-hop songs in Los Angeles were his. Spotify statistics showed that in the most populated areas of LA, Kendrick's music received more listening time than that of Drake, The Weeknd, or even established artists like Jay-Z. While streaming provides one viewpoint, radio play offers another, and in Los Angeles, radio still wields considerable power. Even in 2025, traditional radio airplay in LA can elevate a song to national fame. Fat Joe's remark about hearing Kendrick 9 times out of 10 was not an exaggeration. He observed it firsthand. Every top 40 hip-hop station, from Power 106 to Real 92.3, regularly played Kendrick's latest songs and reintroduced his older hits. This meant that while other artists relied on curated playlists or viral TikTok trends, Kendrick's influence was reinforced by DJs who continue to shape community trends. Expanding on this topic, Joe and Jada discussed how Kendrick's team built that momentum. They highlighted surprise single releases, radio promotions that got Kendrick on morning shows, and guerrilla-style pop-up events in LA, where fans lined up for free merchandise and meet and greets. They pointed out the strategic decision to limit Kendrick's collaborations. He only featured on 2 outside tracks, making each guest appearance feel significant. They argued that the scarcity increased demand in his hometown. They also explored the cultural backdrop that made this possible. Los Angeles in 2025 is a diverse mix of neighborhoods: Compton, Watts, South Central, Leimert Park, Hollywood, and Echo Park. Each area has its own distinct history, landmarks, and radio stations. Yet when Kendrick's verse dropped on a diss track targeting the biggest names in rap, the entire city tuned in. Joe and Jada compared it to historic moments in LA rap history: NWS Rise, Tupac's California Love, and Snoop's Gin and Juice. These were defining moments that shaped eras. They suggested that Kendrick's success was more consistent, a phenomenon that spanned a season and blended social commentary, cinematic music videos, and sharp lyricism. As they returned to the podcast's main focus, providing honest insights, sharing unheard stories, and merging East Coast and West Coast influences, they discussed a plan for how an artist can dominate a city without being based in Los Angeles. Fat Joe remarked that he had never reached the same level of radio success as Kendrick, despite his 2 decades in the music scene. Jadakiss confessed that the closest he came to owning a city was in mid-2000s New York, which heavily relied on radio battles and mixtape releases. Joe emphasized that Kendrick's achievements were even more impressive because he was thriving across streaming services, traditional radio, and live performances all at once. To illustrate this point, Joe and Jada played 3 clips back-to-back. Kendrick's impactful opening verse from his diss track aimed at Drake, the haunting piano melody from his Grammy-winning song, and the highlight of his Super Bowl halftime performance. The stark contrast served as a reminder that while metrics matter, it's the unforgettable moments that truly define an artist. As the first episode wrapped up, Fat Joe addressed the audience one last time. For authentic conversations about the culture, it's essential to understand how an artist can shape an entire city. Kendrick Lamar isn't just from Compton, he has become the voice of Los Angeles. And as long as he keeps making music like that, no one can compete with him in his hometown. Jadakiss concluded, and we'll be here every week to explain exactly why. We're Joe and Jada, and this is just the beginning. What's next? If the premiere is any indication, listeners can look forward to insider insights on the behind-the-scenes drama, industry secrets, and cultural shifts that characterize hip-hop today. One thing is clear. When it comes to Los Angeles and the idea of dominating the paint, Kendrick Lamar has set a new standard. Thanks to Fat Joe and Jadakiss, we now have a front-row view of how he accomplished this. The strategy Fat Joe presented that day was not just a tribute to Kendrick's dominance, it was a lesson in power dynamics, how radio exposure, strategic releases, and authentic storytelling can converge to create a new king of the city. In a landscape where momentum is vital, Kendrick's reign in LA shows that sometimes a single voice, a clear view to Kendrick's dominance, it was a lesson in power dynamics, how radio exposure, strategic releases, and authentic storytelling can converge to create a new king of the city. In a landscape where momentum is vital, Kendrick's reign in LA shows that sometimes a single voice, a clear vision, and a relentless work ethic can elevate an entire city. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on the story.